Today we will be focusing on line, shape, and color as we create a monarch butterfly. First, we're going to hear the story of Uncle Monarch.
Uncle Monarch and the Day of the Dead, written by Judy Goldman, illustrated by Renee King Moreno. "They're here," Lupita cried. She ran to the rocking chair where her uncle was and touched his arm. When he opened his eyes, she whispered, "Tio Urbano, they're here." "Are you sure?" he asked. Quickly, Nina, hand me my cane. It is best of luck to see them arrive." Tio Urbano struggled to his feet, his knees creaking like the wooden floor under him. He put his hands on Lupita's shoulder. They walked out of the house and watched as the first monarch butterflies fluttered to the safety of the trees. Lupita put out her hand and a tired monarch landed on it. It stayed for a moment before flying off to blend with the others. Tio Urbano said, "Pequeña, do you remember what I have told you ever since you were a baby?" Lupita nodded and said, "I must never capture or hurt a monarch, for they are the souls of our dead ones, who have come back to visit us before Dia de los Muertos." Tio Urbano put his arm around Lupita. "This is why it is a blessing to receive the butterflies before Dia de los Muertos, when we show our dead that they are treasured and not forgotten. Besides, it is a pleasure to see butterflies return every year." Day after day, Lupita and Tio Urbano watched the butterflies fill the trees until there were millions in the woods. On sunny days, they flew about searching for food and water until the forest was a quivering blur of orange and black. On cloudy days, the butterflies didn't take wing. Instead, they clung to the tree trunks and pressed tightly together for warmth. Soon after the arrival of the butterflies, Lupita's family got ready for Dia de Muertos. Papa set up the arch of cempasúchil flowers. He strung rows of colorful papel picado from one end of the living room to the other. Mama gathered the ingredients she would need for preparing the pan de muertos, mole, tamales, tortillas, atole, and rice and beans that the dead had liked in life and would now enjoy in spirit. Lupita cleared a path that led from the altar to the street. She knew exactly how she would make the trail of petals of cempasúchil that would guide the spirits home. This year it would be as wide and thick as possible so that no one would get lost. Everything was done like last year, except that Tio Urbano couldn't help in any way. He sat wrapped in blankets and dozed most of the day by the fireplace, mumbling in his sleep. When he was awake, and if his bones weren't aching, he watched the butterflies. A few days before Dia de los Muertos, Tio Urbano took to his bed. Lupita sat by his side for hours. She stroked his hand and spoke to him about school and her friends, but he never opened his eyes. One morning, Lupita was dreaming of butterflies when she felt a hand on her shoulder. She opened her eyes, and when she saw the tears tracing a path down her father's cheeks, she knew. "Tio Urbano?" she asked in a whisper. Papa nodded. "I know how much you will miss him, Pequeña," he said, "but try to remember the good times you spent with him. He would like that." After that, the days were cold and dark for Lupita. Tio Urbano's photo was added to the ones on the altar, and a plate of his favorite enchiladas was added to the other dishes. Lupita missed seeing him in his old rocking chair. A gray feeling filled her heart, and she felt better only when on sunny days the monarchs flew around the meadow. On the first day of November, Dia de los Muertos arrived. That night, Lupita's family and neighbors gathered in the cemetery. They lit torches and candles, and each family cleaned their relatives' gravestones. They painted the gravestones in bright colors and covered them with flowers and food. Some prayers were said, and a woman sang a hymn accompanied by a guitar. After a while, an air of festivity spread throughout the cemetery as adults told stories and ate their fill, and children played hide and seek among the gravestones. Lupita looked at the new grave that needed no fresh paint. She stayed close to her mother, and later on wrapped herself in a warm blanket and fell asleep. Early the next morning, Mama woke Lupita and whispered, "Come, Pequeña, it is time to go home." Lupita shook off the blanket. She pulled her jacket closer and glanced at the cloudy sky. There wasn't a butterfly in sight. While Mama and Papa walked ahead among the graves, Lupita turned for one last look at her uncle's gravestone. On one of the flowers was a lone monarch butterfly gently moving its wings. Lupita watched as it rose, fluttered above her head, and flew away. She stared until she lost sight of it among the trees. Then she smiled and whispered, "Goodbye, Tio Urbano, my Uncle Monarch. I'm sure I'll see you next year." Lupita left the cemetery, and as she ran to catch up with her family, she felt the gray begin to lift from her heart.
Hi friends, it's me, Miss Boteo. I'm here to show you a really cool project that was inspired by Uncle Monarch. Today we're going to be using a process called a monoprint to create a monarch butterfly. This process is really interesting because you will start with a folded paper, and every single time you make a mark on your paper with the watercolor, you will fold your paper and it will print to the other side. So we will be using the line of symmetry to create this project. I cannot wait to see your work. Please don't forget to submit it to Canvas.